Welcome back, everyone, to our deep dive into modern Indian history,
Yeah.
especially for all you UPSC aspirants out there, tackling that GS1 exam.
Right.
And for anyone, really, who just, finds modern Indian history fascinating, whether you're in school, college, or just, lifelong learners.
Yeah, exactly.
This is actually our second part in this series, and we're really trying to unpack the lives and, honestly, the legacies of these figures that, shaped India as we know it.
You got it.
And today we're diving into, a pretty remarkable figure, Raja Ram Mohan Roy.
A true pioneer, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. A pioneer of social change.
For sure.
And we're going to be using this article. It's called Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Pioneer of Indian Reform, Architect of Enlightenment and Social Progress.
Catchy title.
Yeah, right.
It is. It is.
And we're going to use that to explore his life, his ideology, and really his lasting impact, which is, still felt today.
Absolutely.
And trust me, this is not your, typical boring history lesson, dusty textbooks.
No, not at all.
This guy, Roy, his story is full of surprises.
You'll see. You'll see.
So, his early life really played a crucial role in shaping his thinking, right?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, born in Bengal in 1772, he grew up during a period of immense transition.
Lots of change happening.
A lot of change,
Yeah.
right? But what's really remarkable to me is his exposure to all these different cultural and intellectual currents.
Yeah, that's what really stands out, I think.
I mean, come on. This guy was fluent in Persian, Arabic, and Sanskrit.
That's impressive.
Yeah, right? Like digging deep into Islamic philosophy and,
Yeah.
Hindu scriptures like the Vedas and Upanishads.
He's a real scholar.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And hold on, because it gets even more interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
Roy was actually studying the works of Plato and Aristotle in Arabic translations.
What?
Centuries before they became standard reading in the West.
No way.
Talk about a global mind.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, he was really ahead of his time in embracing both Eastern and Western thought. And that definitely, I think, laid the groundwork for his reformist ideas later on.
Absolutely. But, his experience wasn't just limited to books and philosophy.
Right.
Roy also worked for the East India Company.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it gave him firsthand insight into the British administrative system.
So he kind of saw both sides of the coin,
Exactly.
the strengths and weaknesses of both Indian and British systems.
Precisely.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah, and that experience really fueled his, drive for reform.
Makes sense.
He realized that for India to progress, religious and social reform were essential. Now, this might seem obvious today, but back then it was a radical concept.
Cool.
He was challenging centuries of tradition and, orthodoxy head on.
Yeah, and our source material, it really highlights this point, quoting Roy as saying,
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
that religious orthodoxies impeded social development and generated confusion and conflict.
Powerful stuff.
He wasn't afraid to, point out the problems, even if it meant challenging, these powerful institutions.
That's true. And he didn't just talk the talk. He actually
Right.
went after outdated rituals, promoted this idea of one God, the concept of monotheism, and he fought passionately for social equality.
Yeah.
These were bold stances to take in, early 19th century India.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Where traditions held immense sway,
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You didn't just go against the grain like that back then.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Welcome back. Last time we were talking about Raja Ram Mohan Roy's belief that religious and social reform were essential for India to progress.
Yeah, totally.
Mm.
And, we kind of ended on his criticism of all those rituals and this focus on, monotheism and his push for social equality.
Right. Pretty radical ideas for his time.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But, Roy wasn't just an armchair
really
critic.
into-
He actively challenged practices that oppressed people, especially women.
Yeah, his fight against sati is such a powerful example of that.
Totally.
I mean, sati, the practice of widow burning, it was just something that Roy saw as absolutely barbaric.
It was.
And he didn't just, condemn it, he took action.
Exactly. He actually used his knowledge of scripture
That's
to argue against Sati's religious validity, which was crucial in swaying public opinion.
Right.
And he, relentlessly campaigned against it.
Yeah, he was tireless.
Tirelessly to, build support for its abolition.
And for you UPSC aspirants out there, Roy's role in influencing the eventual ban on sati by the British government in 1829. That's like a key historical event to remember,
Huge moment.
for sure.
It really shows how he effectively, used his influence to bring about like concrete legal and social change.
Yeah.
And you know what? His activism didn't stop there.
No, but this guy was a machine, right?
He fought for women's rights, across the board, including their right to education and inheritance. He spoke out against child marriage, challenged that like rigid caste system.
I mean, his dedication to like social justice is just truly remarkable, especially when you think about, the time period he was living in.
Absolutely. It's like he had this vision of, a more equitable future for India.
Yeah, totally.
And to achieve that, like he really recognized the transformative power of education. He believed it held the key to like unlocking India's potential.
Right. And he wasn't just talking about it, right?
No, not at all.
I mean, he helped establish like institutions, like the Hindu college, which, blended Western and Indian learning.
Such a significant step, I think, towards modernizing education in India.
I agree.
It provided a platform for students to engage with both traditional knowledge and Western scientific thought.
Yeah, that's cool. And then, of course, there's the Vedanta College, which he founded. And that, it took this more holistic approach, aiming to, like, combine the best of Western science with traditional Indian wisdom.
That's an interesting point, that we didn't see like Western and Indian knowledge systems as being in opposition to each other.
Right.
He believed they could like complement and enrich one another.
Which really, I think, reflects his like, commitment to synthesizing different schools of thought.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's amazing how he like tackled so many different issues.
It is.
All while staying true to his,
Yeah.
Core beliefs in progress and social justice.
Yeah. And he even pushed for reforms in like the economic and political spheres too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
I mean, he was a strong advocate for freedom of the press, believing that, the free flow of information was like crucial for a healthy society.
Makes sense.
Right. And he championed the rights of tenants. Pushing for fair treatment by, landlords.
Right.
He even argued for like administrative reforms within the British system, calling for greater Indian representation and more local control.
He even went so far as to advocate for like the separation of the judiciary and the executive, which is, a fundamental principle of a like fair and balanced legal system.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
It strikes me that like so many of the issues that Roy fought for are like still relevant to India's challenges today in the 21st century.
His insights are surprisingly timeless, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
But before we like move on, let's just quickly recap some of the key, highlights about Roy's intellectual contributions.
Okay, good idea.
Which like often come up in those UPSC exams.
Right.
Those nitty-gritty details that can like make all the difference.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, pay attention, folks.
Exactly. Remember like his key publications, the Gift to Monotheism and Precepts of Jesus, where he, challenged religious dogma.
Right.
His founding of the Atmiya Sabha and the Brahmo Sabha. Those are also like, important milestones.
Yeah, I remember those. And don't forget his, contributions to education with his support for the Hindu college and, the establishment of his own Vedanta College.
Right. That's a lot to remember.
Yeah. But these are the specifics that, those UPSC examiners, they love these details.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Right. So now let's kind of like zoom out a bit.
Okay.
When we look at Roy in the context of 19th century India, like he was living in this period of like rapid change. Right?
For sure.
British power is expanding. And like traditional Indian society is being challenged at like every level.
Right.
So, I mean, he was truly like a bridge figure navigating this complex landscape.
Yeah.
Like embracing Western ideas of reason, liberalism, social justice, but also remaining like deeply rooted in Indian traditions.
That's right. It's fascinating how he, managed to synthesize these seemingly contradictory forces, advocating for progress while still like respecting his heritage.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, was he like a radical reformer trying to break completely from the past? Or was he like, a product of his time responding to the specific challenges posed by like British colonialism?
Yeah. Tough question, right?
Yeah, that's something for you to consider.
Yeah.
So, we've covered a lot of ground in our deep dive into Raja Ram Mohan Roy's life and work.
We have. It's clear that he wasn't just a man of ideas.
Right.
He was like a man of action. He truly
Yeah.
believed in putting his, principles into practice.
Absolutely. He founded organizations, published journal, engaged in countless debates. He even traveled all the way to England,
Wow.
to advocate for India's interests. I mean, talk about dedication.
Yeah, he was seriously committed.
And that's, I think, what makes him, such a fascinating figure. He didn't just critique the system from the sideline.
No, he was right there in the thick of it.
He actively sought to change it, whether it was, challenging religious dogma or fighting for social justice or pushing for political reform.
He really wanted to see real change happen.
Yeah, and it seems like he understood that, lasting change requires actually engaging with the levers of power.
For sure.
Right, both within traditional structures and within the colonial administration.
Yeah, he worked within the system to change the system.
That's a good way to put it. It's no wonder that his legacy continues to inspire us today.
He left such a powerful mark.
I mean, he laid the groundwork for so many positive changes in India, right? From education reforms to women's rights to a more inclusive approach to religion.
He was way ahead of his time in so many ways.
But what strikes me the most, I think, is his just unwavering belief in the power of reason and dialogue.
Yeah, he was all about open-mindedness.
He was willing to challenge the status quo, even when it meant going against really powerful forces.
That takes guts.
And that's a crucial lesson for, I think, all of us.
Yeah.
Especially for you UPSC aspirants out there.
Right. This isn't just about memorizing facts for an exam.
No, it's bigger than that.
It's about understanding the complexities of social change and the ideas that really shaped modern India.
And his story, I think, reminds us that, progress often starts with actually questioning those comfortable narratives.
Yeah, getting out of your comfort zone a little.
Challenging the sacred cows of our time, and having the courage to really envision a better future.
That's what he did, and look at the impact he had.
Yeah, and I think that's a powerful message for, everyone listening. What sacred cows need to be questioned in, India today? What areas of our society, need that same spirit of reform and progress that Raja Ram Mohan Roy so passionately embodied?
Big questions, but they're worth asking.
Right. I mean, his life is a testament to the impact that one person can have.
One person can make a difference, absolutely.
When they combine conviction with action.
And who knows, maybe, some of you listening will be the next generation of reformers.
That'd be awesome.
Inspired by, Roy's legacy to make your own mark on India's story.
That's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the life and legacy of, a true visionary.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember to, subscribe and like this episode if you found it insightful. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing for a better world.